people build houses and other people build homes. And it's a subtle difference, but it's an important one to kind of make a distinction between. Building houses are things that we do to kind of achieve or have a life, a lifestyle, a certain way of living, a standard of living. And yet, just building a house doesn't mean you'll ever feel at home. And there's a lot of people who struggle with that. They build houses and they build their lives, and it's built on relationships and business opportunities and all kinds of things that we try to acquire in this lifetime. And we build these houses, but we don't really ever feel at home. You see, there's a difference between a house and a home. We have this phrase that says, home is where the heart is. And I wonder, where is your heart? I know where God wants your heart to be. He wants your heart to be with Him. He wants my heart to be with Him. He wants us to be captivated by Him and have our hearts securely resting with Him. And when we do that, He has a heavenly home for us. And so while there are times where we don't quite feel right or like we don't really belong, we have an understanding that, well, wait a minute, it's okay. God has a heavenly home for me, and I'm a part of His kingdom, and I'm a part of His family. Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount really kind of lays out a summary of all of His teaching, and He begins with the Beatitudes, the blessed are, and He's saying, okay, happiness isn't what you think, it's very different. And then He goes through a number of ways of living, but He says it this way. He says, okay, you've heard it said this, but I tell you it's really this. And he talks about things like going the extra mile and going above and beyond and living in a very different way than anybody ever has before. And then when he comes to the conclusion of the Sermon on the Mount, he wraps it all up by talking about the foundation that you build on for your house. And he says, okay, look, everybody's going to build a house. Everybody's going to build a life. This time that we have here on earth, we're all constructing some kind of life. And he goes, but the real key here is, what foundation are you building on? He said that if anybody builds on His words, on the way of living that He laid out before us and the hope that we have in an eternal kingdom with Him, he says when you build on that foundation, you build on a solid foundation. And you're not just building a house, now you really are building a home. Because everyone builds a house, and every house faces a storm. Now, I used to think about that, and I came to the realization, okay, well, nobody can build a house that, and lead a life that has a storm-free existence. We all face storms, and I used to think, okay, yeah, but they're different storms. My storm may be different than your storm. Well, the reality is, I think what Jesus was talking about here was a universal storm, and the storm He was referring to is death. We all build these lives, but these lives all end. And so if we build on the foundation of Him, what is constructed in Him and built on Him is eternal, and it lasts forever. Now we have a home that isn't temporary, it isn't fleeting, and it isn't destroyed when death comes and our time on this earth is over. It lasts. And so the storm that we all face is the storm of death. Now, it is true that storm appears in different forms. I mean, some, face a tornado, and others maybe a hurricane, and some it might be a blizzard, and, for others maybe it's a flood. But the storm's coming. Check the forecasts, and for all of humanity, the storm of death is coming. And so what are you building? Are you building a house or a home? And where is your heart? I hope and pray that your heart is placed securely on the foundation of Jesus, that you know who you are, and even more importantly, whose you are, and that you have a home that death cannot destroy because it will last forever.